Okay, well we're here at a rally in support of the construction industry to see the abolition of the ABCC, the Australian Building Construction Commission. Now the ABCC was essentially set up by the Liberal government of the time and now has been supported by the Labor Party. The ABCC is legislation that is directed purely at construction workers. It's legislation that takes away some of the most basic rights of construction workers.
In this country at the moment, there are 8,000 directors of companies who have folded and not paid their workers. How many of those 8,000 directors have been prosecuted by the ABCC? None.
Their right to silence, their right to protest, their right to argue for a safe workplace. It's very bad legislation, it needs to be repealed, and it's the Greens who are saying we want to get rid of it. Under this piece of legislation we've got a construction worker, Ark Tribe, who was essentially committed to stand trial because he stood up for workers in the workplace. That was his crime. His crime was to argue for a safer workplace for construction workers. And under that piece of legislation, because he took his right to silence, he faces 6 months in jail. Now we wouldn't do that to even the most basic common criminals. The legislation actually, in fact, treats people in the construction industry worse than common criminals. So we've got to get rid of it. The way to get rid of it is to vote Greens in the Senate. The CFMEU, a union established on the back of the Labor movement, have taken the historic step of saying, let's vote Green in the Senate. The way to get rid of this legislation is by voting Green in the Senate, and that's why they're arguing for a Green Senate. And if most Australians care about workers in the workplace, they'll do the same.